what impresses the hell out of me is how quickly you guys are going to get to cost parity in an environment where it's already cheap as hell. Like we have
Yeah.
engineered the heck out of this stuff. And the fact that
Yeah.
you guys can do this with like an innovative solution is like mind blowing to me. Like this, if you, when we first talked, if you said, I think within 20 years we'll be there, I would be like, yeah, it probably makes sense. The fact that
Yeah.
you're like in a big hurry, it's crazy, man. Like you guys'
It is.
success,
It
man,
is.
like it's happening.
I know. And I think like for us, we knew that was critical in so many ways. And it's still going to be stepwise, but for us, it was understanding that connection of not just what are the materials we're making, what are the applications we're going into, how do we find materials that nobody's using, make it cheap and nobody wants, but also useful materials that are just kind of on the wayside of other industries. But then it's that connection to scale, and again, it's a double-edged sword because there's certain areas where for certain biomaterials that scale is only going to come through more novel processes.
Yep.
And I think that's fine. It's just not going to be for packaging.
Right.
And it's understanding for these areas of real impact that need to occur, how do we get those levers of change to happen quicker at a timeline that also works for the industry? Because that's what's difficult. Yep. Is we could be like, hey, this is going to take 20 years. Who the hell is going to come partner with and be like, yeah, we're going to invest 20 years in development for this, and then it'll finally be rivaling what we're making just boatloads of cash with over here on this line. And what we realized is it is honestly being able to foam some of these biomaterials which have simply never been foamed before, and get material out which is able to not, like I said, perform, but it's really able to be produced at a scale. And that's what's critical, because you look at how they convert these products, how they take these large sheets, they take these large planks. I mean, you look at how some, expanded polystyrene, I mean, people know it's styrofoam, but they literally take giant blocks, like 8-foot by 8-foot blocks that are 30 yards long, put it on a CNC machine and say, go, and it cuts out a million different little shapes of packaging in probably not 30 minutes, but say an hour. And all of a sudden you have a million pieces of packaging. It's like, until you start understanding the scale of where these things and how they're being produced, the need to mimic and get, replicate that is paramount. And it starts not just from the producing, but, how are we sourcing regionally to where these things are being produced? How do we make sure we're producing them where they're being packaged and distributed? It's so interconnected. And I think biomaterials in general have had challenges, not only the producing, but in the global sourcing in a way where it's like, hey, maybe we're only using one material. Maybe we're just using seaweed. Maybe we're just using PHAs. Maybe we're just using, starch is pretty ubiquitous, but again, it has limits. And the point is like understanding if we're going to make this in Japan, if we're going to make this in Europe, if we're going to make this in Latin America, even if we're going to make this in the United States, we damn well be able to get our materials as close as we can, not only to reduce cost, but impact, but then have the infrastructure manufacturing around that same place.